How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing SONN. This ticker had a massive run today from 1.36 all the way to almost $5. Let's go into why this run happened, what I think is going to happen tomorrow. Do I think this is going to be a multi-day runner? Let's get into the price predictions, the multi-day predictions. Let's talk about the due diligence of the stock. If you guys want to learn how to do due diligence, how to look through a company's financials, their catalysts that are coming up, watch this video. This is going to help you predict future movements of a stock, and it's just going to keep you tapped in on what's happening, and you're just going to be able to know things that other people aren't aware of that are going to help you make decisive moves. Let's get right into it. Taking a look at this chart, it's a beat up chart. It's been very oversold. They have recently received a delisting notice from NASDAQ, so it's just a beaten up stock, right? This used to be a massive stock a couple years ago. This name was huge. Like, we'd see SONN run almost every 4 or 5 months, right? And currently it's just been beaten down repetitively. And I think this is just a really strong oversold move. We have been having these oversold moves with penny stocks a lot recently. So every day that I see a top gainer running, I look at the daily chart and I check if it's oversold. I check if it's been beaten down, because they've been giving us insane moves, recently in the last couple weeks. And that's something that I've picked up on. That's a good trend to keep in mind in the upcoming couple of weeks. But it's been, just consistently beaten down. They released some news to where they raised some money. We'll get into that in a second. And, we just saw some massive recovery. Some, it's due, right? Like this, it's about time that this move happened. But let's just take a look at their daily. As you guys can tell, this is not a good multi-day runner. If we look at the history of the stock, it gave back all of its gains on December 9th, gave back all of its gains on November 6th. It gave back all of its gains, repetitively in the last couple of months. In the last year, I'd say this has just not been a good multi-day runner, and that's very important to look at. You got to look at the history of the stock. Let's get right into the due diligence. As you guys can see, very low institutional ownership, 5%. So this tells you immediately, hey, institutions are not interested in this stock. Something is seriously wrong here if institutions are not pressing to invest, especially if the company is in need of cash. And still, they're not accepting any institutional investments because they're not coming to them, right? That's not a good sign. Increased positions 5, decreased positions 5. Okay, whatever. Let's take a look at their short interest. Very weak short interest. I don't see a short squeeze happening on this stock. Next, let's take a look at their insider activity. Number of open market buys, 0 in the last 3 months, 0 in the last 12 months. So again, not even any insider buyers, not even any inside trades. Let's take a look at their pipeline and drug candidates. So they have a drug, SON 1010. Clinical results, phase 1 results. I'm going to switch to my upcoming milestones and catalysts. As you guys can see, they have their phase 1 ready, GLP toxicology completed for another drug. And what I'll be looking for here is basically just trial initiation news coming up for this ticker. Let's take a look at their upcoming milestones and catalysts for this year, expected in 2025. We can see that they're expecting top-line safety data for a couple of drugs. They're expecting IND submission, which, if you know what biotech stocks are, you know how they trade, you know exactly what IND submission is. It's a very early move into a drug. We're expecting initial clinical data, first patient dosed for PDAC. So mostly it's just very, very early news. Nothing that is going to be decisive for the company. These are very expensive trials. And, the company will need a lot of cash to sustain these trials, and it knows that. So they need to be very cash healthy to sustain these trials and sustain all of these drug tests in the upcoming years, which they're not, and we'll get into that in a second. But as I just said, we're very early on into all of the drug news. Nothing decisive, nothing very important that's going to shake the stock is coming up soon. So that just shows you this run overall is just not, not really much more than a technical run, just based off the oversold chart, just based off the market conditions. They've been beating their earnings, last couple earnings. And as price targets, $20. Yeah, okay, that's just really unrealistic. We're not even going to take a look at that. Sometimes you see things that are just really off. Total cash, $2 million. Total debt, 90K. So this isn't a bad cash to debt ratio. It's really, really solid. But then you take a look at their operating cash flow, negative $12 million. That's horrible. That is horrible. This company is in dire need of cash. And what's even worse is when you take a look at their dilution history, this by itself shows you that there are massive chances that this company is going to dilute. They need cash. They have 1.4 months of cash left. So 1.4 months of cash left is just a horrible sign in of itself. It's just horrible, right? This company needs cash. It's in dire need of cash. So at the end of the day, this company is going to dilute soon. It's going to have an offering soon, without a doubt. They need the cash. And that is what their entire PR is. That is why this stock is running, because they got cash. They received the cash that they so desperately need. As you guys can see, completed a sale to certain accredited investors of convertible notes in the aggregate principal amount of $2 million. So I read this news. They are receiving around $2.5 million. But there is some bad news that comes with this. I just don't think the price has factored that in yet. I think people just jumped on the news. Retail jumped on the news. Surprisingly, it didn't give back all of its gains, or at least, more than 50% of its gains, which I would have expected taking a look at this early on in the day, just because I think this is a full retail pump here. I don't think any institutions are backing this run, which is why I'm honestly kind of surprised we didn't come all the way back down to 2.5. The low twos. But as you guys can see, the main reason this stock is running, the only reason it's running, besides its technical setup, obviously, as well as the current market conditions favoring oversold stocks, is because they just received $2.5 million in cash, but it's not good enough. And I'll tell you why it's not good enough. The way they're paying back this money is they are going to dilute the stock, which will eventually decrease the quality of the stock, right? You're adding hundreds of thousands of shares onto the market, right? Obviously, the quality of the stock is not going to be the same. The price, this is going to factor into the price for sure, just not yet, obviously, after retail gave it this massive oversold bounce. But eventually, no institutions are going to step in. This doesn't have any chance of having a short squeeze, which is arguably one of the most important factors when it comes to a stock that retail is pushing, that isn't being held by solid news, is a short squeeze. Or, just a very popular theme, which biomedicals, nothing really popular about that sector right now. So as I just said, this is going to tick into the price for sure, that they're adding and they're diluting so many of their shares in order to receive this investment, right? But on the bright side, it shows, hey, finally there's some investors that are willing to invest in this stock. $2.5 million. At the end of the day, if you take a look at their upcoming catalysts, what is $2.5 million going to do here? Their operating cash flow by itself is negative $12 million. What is $2.5 million really going to do for them? Nothing. Think about how expensive these drug tests are going to be. They need cash. They need a lot more than just $2.5 million, which is why I think dilution is bound to happen on this stock. It's coming. I would not touch this stock at all. I think it's going to give back all of its gains. I know SONN is known to be a parabolic runner. Back in the day, 2-3 years ago, you used to hear SONN, the stock would rip 200, 300, 400%. It happened so often back then. It was a very popular ticker, but you guys can see on the daily, it hasn't been holding its gains well at all. It's been giving back all of its gains. It hasn't been a strong multi-day runner. Very weak catalysts that are upcoming, low on cash, high probability of an offering. There's just nothing more to say. I told you guys all the facts. I gave you guys all the due diligence. Now you make your own consensus. You make your own plan. You decide your own, thoughts on this ticker. And I just gave you guys my thoughts. I think it's trash. I think it's going to give back all of its gains. I think it should, hypothetically speaking. Obviously, I could be completely wrong, but based on probability, you guys can watch the last, 5 days of my videos, and I've been predicting stocks left and right. I think I've been wrong maybe once out of like the 7-8 stocks that I have made videos on. So that is my analysis on SONN. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.